Welcome to Popcorn Planet. I am Andy Signor, and it's time to review Disney's Mulan, the remake that is coming to Disney Plus for $30 as a premium add-on to their Disney Plus service. Is it worth it? Now, before I get to my thoughts on the film, let me go back and actually tell you I was excited for this movie. I absolutely was very excited for this movie. I'm a fan of the original film from 1998. I think it's a wonderful, heartwarming film. Great music, great characters. I think it does hold up. Great message. And so when I saw this one happening, I was worried. But then when I saw the trailer and I saw they were going for more a serious approach, I got excited. And I thought the trailers looked pretty great. I thought, you know what? Of all the Disney movies, they could go a new direction with this. Just like Jon Favreau did with Jungle Book. I thought, oh man, this is a movie that could use maybe a more serious approach, still have that heartwarming message, the important themes, and they don't need the music per se because they're going to go their own way. And I got excited for it, to be honest. I brought in Nicky Caro to direct, great director. I thought, well, awesome. Sign me up. You know what, Disney, of all the ones, this one I could get on board with. And so I went in very open-minded. I want to make sure you guys understand that because clearly there's a big but coming in. But I went in very open-minded, excited for this film because I thought it looked beautiful. And I thought, you know what? This could be one that finally works. As a fan of the original, I sadly cannot give this film a great review. It looks beautiful. I'll give it that positive. And it was very nice to be at home watching a big budget movie with my family there on the couch, one that we were all very excited for. And at the end of the day, like, I've seen worse movies, but the more I've sat with it, because I've been able to sit with this a little longer, the more frustrated I am by the movie. So I'm not going to spoil the film, but I am going to talk about sort of the first 30 minutes and some big problems I have with what the choices they made. So if you want to go in completely blind, totally understood. Come back and watch this later. If you want, you can go do it. I will explain, is it worth it? But I have to sort of explain some points to get there. But I do want to warn, I am going to talk about the plot a little bit more in case you want to go. But honestly, I don't know how you can spoil this movie because you've seen it before. But I am going to spoil some of the choices they've made through the first couple acts to make it different, which to me was the problem with the film. I'm all for going a different direction, but the choices they made didn't help at all. So to start with this, I think it's important. I have some notes here I want to go through, but look, this film doesn't have music, right? That's a thing that I know a lot of people were upset about. They're like, well, how do you do it without the music? And honestly, I thought, yeah, you could totally do it without the music. You're going to have great acting, great, cinematography, great direction, great script that gets into the characters more, give them more dialogue. You don't need the music. They needed the music because the problem of what they did is they removed the music. And by removing the music, they didn't replace it with anything to give the characters character development. And it really will show you the importance and the brilliance of Disney music in Disney musicals, especially during that sort of age of the 90s and so on. Like, for example, Reflection in the original movie is an imperative moment in that film. It's like that not only is a beautiful song, but it's a very important moment for Mulan, the character. And it's poised at the part of the movie where she's just really struggling with what do I do. They've established this Mulan is a little, likes to fight back. She doesn't always want to listen. She's tough. She's strong. And she's in a society that doesn't want her to be. They want her to sort of fall in line and just follow the man. And she doesn't like that. You get all that stuff, and then you have this reflection moment where she's really struggling with who is she? Should she just bow down to her culture? Should she stand up for what she believes in? When will my reflection show who it is I am inside? And it's like a beautiful moment of when Disney music and script and all of it come together to really like root you along with the character, right? To take you on that journey. And when you take that scene out and then you don't replace it with a scene of dialogue or character development or moment to really make you learn who Mulan is and what her inner struggle is, well, then you're not going to root for her. She's going to become a very emotionless character, and sadly, that's what happens. So they take that song out, and what they choose to do instead of that song is they start the movie with Mulan as a child. They started with a child of her rambunctious running around, and it's like, okay, oh, cute, all right, funny. And then she gets into trouble, but unlike the first movie where it's sort of just fun, and she's not a child in the original movie, right? I guess she's a teenager in that film, but she's a smaller child in this film, in the opening. And then what ends up happening is she does like crazy crouching tiger moves. She like jumps around and flips on the roof and lands and slides off. And as a kid, she's like, what? Oh, did I do that? And like right at the gate, you're like, well, wait, what? And they sort of mention that this is her chi. This is her chi, guys. And it's a really, really, really poor choice in my mind, because what they ultimately do is they sort of poise her to be a superhero. That she has inner powers that make her so good at the fighting that she's had since she was a child. And it completely ruins, to me, like the whole theme and point of the movie. Like, so you got it. That's where the film starts. So it starts out with this 30-minute, opening where she's learning how to do. She's just suddenly amazing. She's a Mary Sue. Let's be honest, she is. Oh, but it's because she has chi, and so it's this frustrating thing that it becomes a theme of the movie, where it's like it's not just Mulan, the woman who trains and becomes great and stands up and fights back. It's she's special, and that to me really, 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 really doesn't help the movie. It just it turns into a new direction that just sort of like you're like, what? On top of that. Like, so they show you like the first moments with her as a kid, and you get that sort of moment of her struggle as a kid. And then the problem is they move forward and show the first battle sequence where they're like, we mustn't, they show the first battle sequence, and the battle sequence is run by a witch. So you don't actually get Shang Yu in this is not there. Instead, it's this witch character who's working for Borakan, who's played by Jason Scott Lee. And it's just weird. So automatically in the beginning, Mulan's got some special thing. They're talking about her chi. Her and her dad are talking about early on. And then you learn, there's a witch that can basically destroy the army by turning into whatever she wants. And so suddenly the whole movie is like, there's just magicness everywhere where you're like, they want this to be like a Marvel movie or like a Crouching Tiger superhero movie. And it just immediately is off-putting. And so this beginning movie, you have this moment where you learn her as a child, and then you go see the battle sequence, and then we come back, and now Mulan's, of age, and she's riding a horse with bad CGI rabbits. You'll notice it. And she's like, I had such a great day. And then immediately, we found you a match. And so they go into the matchmaker scene, and it's not nearly as fun or as good. It's like there's a cute little montage, and they're trying to do homage to the original. You've seen that scene in the original. It goes awry. And they substitute the cricket, the lucky cricket. Cricket is now replaced with a spider who's just in this moment. It's like this little homage, like, they do a similar thing because of spiders on the table instead of the lucky cricket. Not needed. And of course, she catches the plates like a superhero would. It's just too much. And then as soon as that scene ends, the soldiers come, and they must send her to war. And to send the dad to war, just like in the cartoon. For those who don't know the story of Mulan, her father has to go to war, but he's so too old, he doesn't have any sons, so she dresses up and goes for him. So you gotta understand, the first 30 minutes of this movie is her as a child in this silly opening that doesn't really help, and then we get the first battle sequence done by a witch who doesn't. It's like, what? Who is this? What? There's magic? She could. And then it also like makes the villain seem more. Clearly, the witch is the villain of this movie, right? Not the bad guy. Well, I'm not spoiling. It changes, but my point is like it's not what I'm saying. But you're sort of just like instantly the villain's less scary because there's someone scarier than the villain next to him. So you never really get connected to the villain either. Which in the movie, the original Shang Yu is terrifying. Like he's merciless, right? You don't have that character in this movie. And so then you have, the scene where they quickly meet. We finally meet adult Mulan, and she's being matched right away. And then they're told she has to go to war. And then suddenly we see her finding a sword. She pulls it out, and it says, she reads it, clearly like implying we've never seen her with a sword. She's clearly never seen the sword because she's reading it for the first time, and it goes, loyal, brave, and true. And then she like does some sword moves. She gets in the armor and she's gone. And then she's off in the journey. So again, I mentioned those first 30 minutes because there's no moment of reflection. There's no moment to learn who this character is and the struggles before she goes to the war. And then she goes to the war and it becomes a very by the numbers sort of, and there's other problems with the movie. I'm not going to go break it all down, but I want to sort of warn you, that's what you're in for. It's like, I don't know what they were thinking. They made these liberties they changed don't ever help. And then the I'll Make a Man Out of You scene is a montage now. They do a montage, but it's still like I don't connect to any of her soldiers. There's just they all, no one really stands apart. They're all just sort of fun. Like I had some images prep, but it's like in the original cartoon, like you're like they all have personalities. They're all sort of, you root for them together. They're like it's like a fun team. I never felt that way during the movie. It's such a bummer. And like the worst of all things, there's so much to do, but like the relationship between Mulan and the father. Like I was, as a dad, and I have a stepdaughter. I was like I was planning to get emotional in this movie, and it just doesn't ever really work. There are moments in the trailer, and there's moments of it could have gotten there, but it never even gets close to sort of the real emotional impact that the original has. I really buy the animated father-daughter relationship more than I did in the live action, which is just shocking to me that they couldn't pull that off with the actors and everything they do. It just, everything feels bland, emotionless, going through the numbers. Just let's have her jump around like Crouching Tiger because people like that, and that's what you do in Chinese martial arts movies, I guess. So yeah, let's do that. It's really frustrating. The movie is frustrating and not one I would recommend for $30. Now, if you are watching with your whole family and you're excited for this movie, I think sure, good, go ahead. It's cheaper than you would have done at the theaters. But if you're just a dude at home, or someone at home, one person at home who just was excited to see this, I would wait until it's free. Personally, I don't think you need to see that or rush to go see this one. Sadly, it's just not very effective. It's like, for example, one last thing. I might do a video sort of get really even more complaining about the parallels to why this one fails when we have another one to look at. You can see this one fails in comparison. But it's like there's a scene in the original where the father and Mulan are just like, he goes, I know my place. It's time you learned yours. It's a really powerful moment in the film because she's fighting back with him. Like, you shouldn't go. This isn't fair. She's being like standing up for herself, a strong woman. And in this version, it's the mom who says, you've already made great sacrifices, and he starts losing it. And then she sort of pipes in like, yeah, you don't need to go. And then he sparks at her, I am the father. You are the daughter. Learn your place, and runs off. And it's just like, it's not as effective. You have these amazing moments to make a strong female character, and they made a choice to spend the first limited time they had seeing her as a child, and it doesn't work. It's just goofy and stupid. And then we never really get to meet this character of Mulan and get in and feel invested with her story before she goes and makes this choice for her dad. It's just all very rushed. It's like she's there's a line where she's like, yes, I will bring honor to this family. There's this moment with her father and her as a child, and she feels the pressure of bringing honor to the family. But still, that reflection song, it all comes back to that reflection moment in Disney's original was so important, not just because it was a song, because they did it, it's an emotional trickery, right? Because it's such a powerful, catchy, beautifully made song, but it's also telling you the story. And the best Disney musicals always did that. That was the beauty of, and if you have never watched the Howard documentary on Disney Plus, I highly recommend that one because you'll learn more about the importance of music and how iconic that man was. Him and Alan Menken doing the music for Little Mermaid, Aladdin, Beauty and the Beast. He knew like those songs were crucial to basically fast forward to the plot and give you a hook and fun, something to remember and hum along to. And without those moments, the filmmakers didn't know how to replace them with something as strong or effective. And so the film just falls down its own weight. And then they don't really know who its audience is because it's not really for kids. My kids were bored. And for adults, it's sort of just like, this is not very serious enough. It tries to play both ways in a way where it just fails miserably. So sorry for the long, sort of disappointing review, but I really wanted to I was excited to finally get some thoughts out on this one because it really, really, really was a bummer for me. It just, I don't know what went wrong in this one. And it's the script. It's ultimately the script really made some poor choices in my opinion. And then the direction is just kind of while it's shot beautifully, and I feel like they cast well, but they just had nothing to say. And then the choices that were made to make Mulan pretty much a superhero, to rush through her sort of opening and to find a way to relate to her or bet more intently, it's all stripped away. And then they make other choices, like it's like there's no, Grandmother Fa's gone, Mushu's not there, as we know, but they do a flying phoenix that you'll see a few times. It's just sort of like symbolism. And then they I told you that Shang Yu is gone with Borakan and this witch, and it's sort of it's a bad choice. I don't think there's spoilers of it all. And then Shang, but I have more to say on it. And then Shang is replaced with Commander Tung, and then the love interest. They split them apart because they didn't want Mulan to fall in love with her boss, is what they were saying. And okay, I get that in 2020. At the same time, like it just they miss a huge opportunity that I don't want to spoil again, but they miss a big opportunity because the film. I know the film is very popular with LGBTQ community, and they don't ever attempt to do anything to like nudge or wink or throw a thumb of support at all in this movie for that. And there was such an opportunity they could have done. And I don't want to spoil it here, but I might make another video explaining how I would have done it that I think would have been beautiful, and it wouldn't have been, people wouldn't have felt like it was thrusted into his face, but people would have been able to connect to it and saw it. And there was such a smart way they could have handled that beautifully. And another example of why this film just didn't feel well thought out enough. So many missed opportunities, rushing to just action sequences that don't stick with me. It's just I'm sad. I'm sad because I really did go in wanting to love this movie, and I'm sad that they didn't stick the landing because I think they could have on this one. Like even Aladdin's remake to me was more fun. Like as hard as it is for me to admit that, it's such an unnecessary remake, the Aladdin one. But I thought, they found a way to make it their own and respect the original. And my kids loved that one. They had such a fun time with it, and so it's hard to hate it as much. Lion King is a separate whole story. But yeah, it's a massive bummer. Those are my initial thoughts. So thanks for sticking with me watching this. I'm curious, now that you've heard all this, are you still excited? Are you planning to see it? Have you seen it? Or when you do see it, want to come back and give me your thoughts? I am going to do a follow-up video sort of breaking down more of my parallels to this, so stay tuned. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe here to Popcorn Planet. You can do it by hitting the subscribe button, hit that little notification bell to get alerts, and check out all the other content here as you can. In fact, I'll put it right here. Bam! Hit the subscribe button. Thank you guys so much for watching tonight. Join us up here. Tenet spoiler reviews. We're going to get right into, does Tenet work? Does it make sense? So many people conflicted on this film. So many have already even seen it, so we're going to talk about it. When you do, if you haven't, come back, click on that. We'll watch. It'll be there for you. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. Stay tuned for more content here on Popcorn Planet.